the findings that were found in terms of identifying the changes required for the future of work. And it might seem quite controversial, and we'll get into it a bit later, but the first one is navigating the end of jobs. So what does that mean? Powering the impact with technology, and we'll talk about this on the panel interview as well. Unlocking the workforce ecosystem. So how do we get more value from the workforce that we have today? And taking bold actions for equitable outcomes. So, and we'll also touch on a bit of that. So as we look at that, powering the future of work, we believe, as Workday, and from the Deloitte study as well, there's 3 key stakeholders in terms of C-level executives that remain quite important in terms of making this shift and change. That's the CHRO, or the Chief People Officer, the CFO, Chief Financial Officer, and the CIO. And together with the CEO, they effectively drive the change within an organization. However, there's a lot of data that exists. So as we look at the future of work, and as we all are employees today, where does this data currently reside? So data is everywhere. You know, we've always heard about the pun that data is the new oil. But where is this going? And as an employee, how do we look at the future of work? And how do we make sure that employees strive within the companies that we work for? So let's talk about you. Let's talk about us, everyone in the audience. 80,000. So on average, every single day, the average person has 60 to 80,000 thoughts in a day. Some of us are having them right now about lunch, or maybe about the rugby. We tried to ask ChatGPT a few rugby jokes, but it just wasn't kosher, so we didn't take it forward. It's pretty hard to work this out, so there's a few university studies that's estimated this, but 80,000 thoughts per day. Over and above that, the average person has 35,000 subconscious decisions that's made in a day. 80,000 thoughts, 35,000 subconscious decisions. The next bit of it is 80%. 80% of the knowledge that we have is actually tacit knowledge. It's knowledge that's not easily codifiable and transferable. So as opposed to the formal knowledge that we get in universities or any other formal qualification we have. So we have these criteria, and then we go to work. 80,000 thoughts, 35,000 subconscious decisions that's being made, 80% of the data that resides within our heads, tacit knowledge, and we get to work. And then we collaborate, we share. We try and improve ourselves as employees, and then we also try and improve the company in terms of making our companies more competitive. But there is a challenge, and we believe there's a massive data challenge that still exists, even though there's a lot of technology still available. And let me get into the weeds in terms of where this data challenge resides. So as an employee today, within the companies that you work for, your data physically sits in different systems. Some of them might even be cloud-based. And these systems need to be stitched together and then integrated. And what we feel is that as we look at these siloed systems, it takes companies longer to make decisions in terms of understanding headcount or diversity data, and it delays the ability for companies to make decisions fast enough to remain competitive. So this creates a lot of risk to most organizations out there. So here's a quick test for you guys. So how many combinations are possible using 6 Lego blocks? It's a 2x4. Between Vijay and I, we try and steal them from our sons, but we can't get them out. Any number. 6 Lego blocks. How many different combinations do you think we can have? 10,000. Okay, 10,000. Quite close. 915 million. So 6 Lego blocks gives you 915 million permutations. Now, we sit in excos, we sit in boards, we sit in management meetings, and we make decisions based on the data that we have. And again, how accurate is the data? So when it comes to understanding the headcount planning, the financial days to close, understanding cash flow, are we ready for a merger and acquisition? So if the data is not accurate, and that's going to lead to us having more risk, it means that companies are prohibited in terms of how they progress and how do they move forward. So most organizations today, unfortunately, based on this data challenge, is still using their rearview mirror and making decisions and still somehow trying to drive forward. So we believe organizations should look forward, make decisions in real time, use the data to their advantage, and really understand how to be more competitive, and how to leverage the teams that you have. So the future of talent is changing. So as we talk about the future of work, what is the key ingredient for us? So data is definitely going to be important. What we believe is that the main element is actually skills. And as we look at some of these articles, in South Africa right now, we know that there's a skill shortage and everyone talks about it. But here's a different perspective. How do we know that we have a skill shortage if we don't know who has the skills? Right now, most of us in the companies that we work for, we could have people that could be a bank teller that has an MBA, or we could have somebody in marketing that's studying towards mergers and acquisitions, but how do we know that? And we could be trying to hire those people within the market, or somebody like a Java skills or any IT-related skills. So skills for us is the new currency, and we believe that this is the key for the future of work, not just in the future, but for today as well. So how do we solve this? So from a Workday perspective, we've built a cloud-based technology called Skills Cloud, and we're able to take this data and in real time help organizations make better decisions for their businesses. So how do we recruit? How do we learn? How do we grow? How do we offer better pay? How do we analyze? How do we do forecasting? And all of this is done in real time. And we are quite privileged to actually have customers in South Africa today that are using this technology. By doing this, we're able to extract the potential of employees and make it exponential, because we'll be able to understand the hidden skill set that each employee has. So the data is quite shocking. You know, if you look at the fact that, and I'll only point one out, that 87% of organizations that have skills gaps expect to have skills gaps in the next few years. So we've moved away from jobs, and jobs being the key thing that companies are looking for, and we now move to a skills-based economy. And we need to really understand what that means and how do we execute upon that. So as Workday, we're a cloud-based company. We offer finance and we offer human capital within the cloud. We think that we manage people data quite well and organizations' money as well. And that's done in real time. It's a single code line. You know, our team is based in Sandton, and we're privileged today to have some of our customers as well speak to us. But if you do want to know more about Workday and what we do, happy to chat to you afterwards as well. But I want to get into the weeds of how do we do this. So, you know, AI, machine learning, I think, you know, with things like ChatGPT and generative AI is obviously the buzzword in the market. There's quite a few companies coming out with new products. We've been doing this for over 10 years. It's been baked into our DNA of what we do. And let me give you some examples of how this works. So if you're an employee, and within the organizations you work for today, your organization has a view in terms of your skill set purely based on your job profile. But imagine if they knew the skills you had. So if you were a truck driver, that could be noted as a skill set. Or if you had a passion towards a certain hobby, that could be seen as a certain skill set. And once the company has that, using the cloud-based technology that we have, we're then able to suggest, match, and recommend positions for employees. So companies no longer have to go and look out for the skills that they think they need in the market, because they might realize that it probably exists within the organizations today. So another way that we do this is we've built this thing called a skills ontology. So we've taken 120,000 skills, we've curated it, and using machine learning and AI in real time and continuously doing so, we are able to take skill sets that our employees have today and then provide associated skill sets. Now, I'll give you a quick example in terms of our team and how we've done this. So we've been in South Africa since 2018. We've got a pretty lean team in Workday South Africa, and we're in a very highly competitive market. So we took a few principles, coming back to leadership. I took a concept called distributed leadership. So I took the team that we had. I spent some time understanding everyone's strengths, weaknesses, hobbies, you know, their obsessions, their side hustles, and where they really wanted to go in life. And then using the technology that we have, I looked at the responsibilities that we have within our business. Areas of marketing, areas of social awareness, looking at triple BE, understanding how do we run social campaigns and build a culture within the team. And then by taking that data and understanding the team's data, I've managed to take my team, which is again pretty lean, agile team, and give them responsibilities for things that they find cool. Legitimizing their side hustle, which has actually improved our employee value proposition. And I'm proud to say that in Workday South Africa, we've got one of the highest rated employee satisfaction surveys globally, purely based on some of these techniques that we've used. And by doing so, our employees have a better career option within Workday because they get to have the ability to exploit their hidden talents. So they still might have a day job when it comes to sales or marketing or pre-sales on the technical aspects. But now there's the other element, because we've exposed the other side of the brain in terms of understanding what really drives them and makes them tick. And by doing so, we've built a career path for them that's no longer job-based, but purely based on skills. So when you do so, a lot changes. And I think one of the panelists spoke about learning before. So this is when things happen in real time. So everything becomes quite contextualized. So, when you log in, you're able to have an experience as an employee that's based on you. Your learning path is based on content that's suited to you. The job profiles that gets recommended is based on you as an individual, not just you as a person within a grade that's in the old static career ladder that most companies still have today. And again, all of this is embedded with AI and machine learning. So once you do this, you really improve employee engagement. Employees can show the skills they have and the strengths and weaknesses, and that's going to be known. But you also promote transparency in a skills-based economy. And you do this in real time, and you're doing this based on the fact that there's no bias involved. It's completely data that's driven by the employee. And the data is quite confidential as well. So within Workday, our data, our audit is always on. The audit can never be switched off. And that means the data is always encrypted at any given time. But you can also inform future talent strategies. So again, coming back to the scenario, company A is looking to expand and beat company B. There's a scenario where they need to grow the company by X percentage, and they're looking for a strategist. They're looking for somebody that understands mergers and acquisitions. They're wanting somebody who wants to travel the African continent. And by understanding the skills data of employees, you can take that and then say, wow, out of these 10 jobs we're posting, we might have 6 candidates today within our organization that this job might be applicable for. And this is the power when we bring all of this together. So the other value that comes out is to optimize the workforce. So it's really about employee productivity. So as companies look at employee productivity, they typically take revenue, top-line revenue, and then we look at employee count and we divide the two, and we look at the productivity ratios. But this optimizes it even more in terms of making sure we get better value. The engagements we spoke about, but I think the other key thing is insights. Understanding the employees, where you are, the ability for you to transact and to work with the organizations and the value that you can bring, and how do we extract that potential, as I spoke about before. And the last piece is to be agile. So the one thing that COVID taught us, and all the acronyms that came about pivoting and being agile, is that we do need to adapt. Every day I think, if we read the news, there's a different crisis taking place. And how do companies now plan 6 months ahead, 12 months ahead? So by understanding this data, by knowing the skills data that you have, we believe that companies can be more agile, schedule resources and skills as organizations need. So it doesn't just stop there. We've coined this term VIBE, which stands for value, inclusion, belonging, and equity. And what we're able to do within our platform is take the data and understand from a diversity perspective, how can companies be more competitive? And let me tell you what I mean. So Deloitte Australia did a study a few years ago, and they looked at 2 teams. They looked at a team that was diverse and a team that was not diverse. And there's enough data out there from all the leading analysts to show that diverse teams outperform others by 80%. And that's quite a strong stat if we think about employee performance, if we look at employee engagement, and then we look at actual productivity to the bottom line and the top line as well. So this is quite key for us, and I think Vinolia might have a few examples in terms of how AdCorp has done this. But this is when we get to diversity as well, when we know the data that exists and make decisions in real time, and at the same time ensure that organizations can be more productive, but also more competitive. because our belief is that happy employees leads to happy customers. And by doing so, the people that you have today, not just the assets in your organization, but the people that you have lead to your competitive advantage, not just the IP or the technology or the other cool things that you might have as a business. So skills is the new currency, and it is the formula for the future of work. And we believe by adapting a skills-based strategy, most organizations can help shape the future of work. So how do you put your skills to action? So again, our team is here. We have a lot of white papers. We've got a lot of talking points in terms of how to build a strategy, in terms of understanding your skill set. How do you do things like a skills audit? So I'm more than happy to chat to you about that. And again, we're quite fortunate to have two of our customers here today.
TM Global Media, going beyond borders.